Welcome, everybody. I'm Sherman Gomberg. I'll be your host and speaker here for Agile Microcredentials. We're going to get into what they're about, and we'll discover what led to them and where we're going to go with Agile Microcredentials. So let's get right started with it. All right, so Agile Microcredentials. So what are they? So they're a fast and flexible way to build high demand Agile and Scrum skills. This is what's kind of interesting here, because a lot of people just didn't know what they are, but it is a quick way, and the world has been changing and they've been wanting to do things in a faster way. Everything is we've been adding AI, different culture changes and all that. So here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to start with what is a microcredential. So we'll kind of define it. What is it, to make sure you're aware of it? You might not even have heard of the term before you joined us here. So we'll start with what is a microcredential. Then we're going to go to what led Scrum Alliance to offer microcredentials. We'll focus from a Scrum Alliance perspective. Like I said, a lot of other organizations do this too. I'm happy to talk about some of those because I've seen a few of those and poked into them. But we'll focus on the Scrum Alliance ones and see what led Scrum Alliance to start to add this as part of their offering. Items are out of order. We'll talk about how do microcredentials help you as an individual. I really wanted to bring that. So you're here, and I want you to be able to walk away and say, well, what does this mean to me? So we'll talk about how do microcredentials help you. And then the next topic, which I find is really fascinating too, how are prospective employers viewing microcredentials or existing ones, right? Hopefully you have a job that you love and you want to stay with. But how do they help prospective or existing employers? What do they see? What's their perspective? What's their viewpoint? We'll take a look at what are the microcredentials that are currently offered by Scrum Alliance. So we'll bring up all of those, and we'll take a look at a few of them, particularly the ones that I've already been teaching for a while, because those are the ones I know much more intimately. So we'll talk about those. And we're actually going to wrap up with a pairing activity, where you're actually going to have to kind of do a little bit of poking and figure out what microcredential might be interesting to you. So I'll let you do that. So here's what microcredentials are. So they're a new way for learners to grow their skills. Ivan, you hit a couple of the keywords there. They are focused, absolutely there. They're module credentials. They're meant to really kind of hit some type of module. Do you think of, some big, large learning class? Typical learning class is broken into modules. Well, each one of these microcredentials is a specific module. Instead of having to learn 12 things, you learn one thing at a time. They are designed to address some specific skill, some competency, or some topic. The microcredential is a qualification to demonstrate your knowledge for what's in demand right now. What's going on in the world today? This way I can obtain the knowledge as I need it. I don't need to obtain all of this knowledge and not use it, which happens a lot because if you don't apply it, that knowledge doesn't stick. So if you take a microcredential, it's like, this is what I need now for my job, for my work, for the next big thing, to be innovative, to be creative, to be disruptive. My three favorite words, by the way, is innovative, creative, and disruptive. So, the microcredentials can help you with that. Microcredentials also kind of cool by Scrum Alliance. They are taught by a certified Scrum trainer, certified Scrum Alliance trainer. So you need to be at that level within Scrum Alliance to teach these. So they're not there. Now, some of them are on demand. We'll talk about that, but the on demands are still taught by a Scrum Alliance trainer, or at least vetted through Scrum Alliance if they're on demand. So they have to be that way. But if you get them live in person, they are only certified Scrum trainers or certified Scrum Alliance trainer. So you're really getting it from the best of the best. So that's what a Scrum Alliance microcredential is. All right. So what led Scrum Alliance to offer them? This was the story I kind of wanted to poke at and say, what's the shift? For a year, Scrum Alliance, pretty much was founded in 2021, soon after Agile Manifesto was written. And Scrum Alliance started with the Scrum Master course, added product owner, eventually had developers and other tracks and classes and certs and trainers, but never had anything in microcredentials until last year. These only were launched in 2024. So these are really new. So what led them? So here's a little bit of what happened here. So they did a bunch of research in 2023. When I was at some of the different retreats, they shared this with, they said they were looking at this, they're researching it, they're seeing a lot of demand for this. And here's what they did to figure it out. They interviewed with trainers and coaches like myself and others here, and Marge and Hutch and Ivan anybody else who has a coach or trainer, they kind of interview us and say, what's going on? What do you see in the world? They talked about L&D, learning, and I forget what the D stands for.
Development.
Development, thank you. Learning and development, and also corporate executives. So they did a lot of interviews and techniques to learn at that. They did market surveys. Market surveys were important. What's going on in the market, right? Checking with their members and their guide population in both to see what did the market say? What are they looking for, right? Want to make sure we're sustainable. We're not trying to force something for someone that might not be applicable. And this is what kind of led to it. They also looked for workforce, different types of research, third-party applications. They want to look at qualitative and quantitative. They looked at the market size, competitive. What are our competitors doing? Even though Scrum Alliance is a nonprofit, there's also competitors out there, right? Agile Alliance, PMI, which are now one, and a lot of other things. Google, which Roman brought up here too. They're all kind of competitors in their own way. So you want to do that. And what's the economy look like? What are people willing to accept? So that's what kind of led them to say micro-credentials, there's a lot of demand, there's a lot of interest for it based on what we're seeing here. And that's the shift or the pivot that they wanted to make. So that's what kind of got us here. All right, so some key trends that led to these courses. Well, they looked at a couple of things. Self-paced. A lot of people said, I just want to learn on my own. So there are a lot of self-paced courses. You can take some of these courses and like you were sharing here, they're short. They're typically about a half a day. They vary a little bit, but they're typically about 4 hours of learning on average, or maybe I should say the mode, if you really want to get into the math. The mode is probably about 4 hours. The mean is probably different. So anyway, the mode is probably about 4 hours. But they're self-paced if you want. So you can go ahead and do it and get the learning. You watch some videos, you do some of your own activities, you demonstrate that you've gained the knowledge, and you can receive the microcredential certification. So you can do it on your own time from your own location whenever you want. So self-paced is good. These have become training focused. Demand has shifted away from traditional role-based training. The role-based training from Scrum Alliance, typically we're talking about the Scrum Master, the product owner, the developer. So they've seen a lot of shift away from that. And they've seen it more that we want skills. We want people to have skills, like Ivan brought up, he attended my Agile OKR. That's a skill. There's no role called I'm an OKR person, right? It's a skill. I have this knowledge. I can bring OKRs to my team and my organization. So that's the shift you're starting to see. That way you can get organizational agility, which is pretty powerful, not just for an individual, not just for a team, but we can bring these skills, we can bring this focus, and we can do that. So that's what kind of led them to it. So how do these help you? This is what's important here. It's really about you. You're here because you're probably thinking about you. How can I help you? So let's take a look at it from an individual perspective. What goes on there? So these, like I said, they're on demand. You watch videos or live classes. I'm a big fan of live classes. If you can take a live class, please do so, because you'll get connection, you have interaction with the trainer, you'll have interaction with the other students that show up, and something will happen that you won't know of. Something will surprise you, something will amaze you. So I recommend the live classes. If that's not available for you or it's not your preferred way of learning, there's the on-demand. You can watch videos. They're almost all virtual. Some micro-credentials might be in person, but most everybody's offering micro-credentials virtual. So it's tough to get together for a half day in person. So typically they're all virtual here. So what does it mean to you? Well, you get a Scrum Alliance badge. That's pretty powerful, right? To gain that new knowledge, to gain a badge that you can then share and you can shout out. So it's important. You get a 2-year membership with Scrum Alliance. So if you're not a member of Scrum Alliance now, you get a 2-year membership by obtaining one of these micro-credentials. If you are a member, you can get your Scrum education units. You get basically a unit for each hour of learning. So you get your Scrum education unit and the badge. That's pretty helpful to have also. The micro-credentials let you showcase your expertise, right? Hey, I have gained learning in OKRs. I have gained learning in Agile Essentials. I have gained learning in Scrum Essentials. I have gained learning in AI for Scrum Masters. I gained learning in coaching. We'll go through the different micro-credentials as we get in a few more slides here. but you've gained this knowledge and learning, so you can showcase that. You can show it off. That's pretty important. So that can help you. In order for the last one I have here, you need a commitment to continuous learning. And I can kind of speak from my personal perspective here. This is what kind of keeps your brain going, keeps you going. You can always do what you know, and that's fine, right? But if you want to do what you don't know, you've got to continually learn. So keep learning, gain new knowledge. And this is just a short, focused way to do it. 4 hours of your time, you're going to gain something new. Gain something new that applies towards something you can put in practice. Right? So you want to say, hey, which one can I use that I can learn and put in practice? But this commitment to continuous learning is really powerful for yourself. You can go ahead and state that to yourself. You don't even need to work about anybody else. You can just reflect on that and say, look at all these things I've learned this year, these last 5 years, and you continually grow and gain that knowledge. Personally, when I started my journey in Scrum Alliance, goes back to, I think, 2014 was when I got my first CSM certification. So about 11 years ago now. Since then, I have not even the micro-credentials, but I have 12 certifications by Scrum Alliance. So over those 11 years, I've continually gained new knowledge, which has just brought so much to me, more than it might have done in the first 20 years of my workplace in terms of the learning I did. A lot of my early or younger career was all about applying what I already knew. Yeah, I gained knowledge on the job, but I didn't necessarily gain knowledge by being in a classroom somewhere. So these last 11 years when I got Scrum Alliance is when I really started to expand into other things and say, okay, what can I learn that I haven't done yet? Most everything before was just learning based on doing, but this is kind of learning and then doing. So it was pretty powerful. So I recommend that commitment to continuous learning. All right, so that's about you. What about the employer's perspective? How do employers view the micro-credentials? So let's take a look from their viewpoint. So employers, well, we're going to look at it from two different areas here. We did a little bit of study at Scrum Alliance, they did. Active Scrum Alliance members and anybody who's a decision maker who's not a Scrum Alliance member, they found the certifications are very valuable for new hires. So if I'm an employer, I'm probably going to go ahead and look and say, I want somebody who has a certified Scrum Master, has a product owner, has a certified Scrum developer. I want that certification. That's a commitment. They've gained that. They learned that knowledge. They've applied that knowledge. That's going to stand out to me when I'm hiring somebody here. Now, somebody who's an inactive Scrum Alliance member, right, they're not part of Scrum Alliance or they're inactive right now. They're actually looking for the micro-credentials. They are looking for people who have all of this plethora of knowledge. They understand OKRs, they have some Agile Essentials, they have maybe AI for product owner, they might have introduction to coaching. They have all this plethora, they can bring all this wealth and experience and diversity. So they're looking for the micro-credentials if they're not an active member of Scrum Alliance, because they probably don't know about the Scrum Master, product owner, developer as much. So they're saying those micro-credentials are really standing out as me as a prospective hire. So they also tend to be more important depending how many direct hires the prospective employer has. If they're like a CTO, a chief technology officer, and let's say they have 500 people working for them, they're going to be much more interested in micro-credentials than they are in the full certifications. I'm going to take a hypothesis guess here. One, my team members, the people who work for me, I don't need them to go to a 2-day training course. They can get 4 hours of training. It doesn't impact my productivity. They can gain them knowledge. They can apply it right away. It's a lot less cost if I'm reimbursing them for training, right? And I can add it to their objectives as individuals and teams. That's my hypothesis why that's interesting. The larger the number of people they have, the more likely this is an easier investment with a quicker return. So the ROI is going to be big. So that's what we kind of see. Here's a chart based on studies with the same thing here. So the top graph shows certifications, such as Certified Scrum Master, Certified Scrum Product Owner, Certified Scrum Developer. The bottom chart shows micro-credentials. such as Agile OKRs, Agile Essentials, Scrum Essentials, AI for product owners, AI for Scrum Masters, and so forth. The orange bar is Scrum Alliance active members. The light blue, the Scrum Alliance members that are inactive, and the dark blue are decision makers that are not part of Scrum Alliance. I kind of want to focus on the blue bar a little bit. So decision makers, certifications really stand out. If I'm a decision maker and I have to hire people as a prospective employer, those certifications are going to get your notice to the top of the stack. If you've got a CSM, CSPO, CSD, or the advanced farther, awesome. You're standing out. 87% said that's really important. And the interesting thing is the micro-credentials stand out almost as important. Still 76% of those decision makers said micro-credentials bring you to the top of the stack also. Now, if you look at Scrum Alliance members, the orange one, because they're Scrum Alliance members, they're very used to how Scrum Alliance has traditionally worked, focusing on the roles, Scrum Master, Product Owner, Developers. So the certs really stand out, 73%, but the micro-credentials don't stand out as much. Those are 56%. You can see they're not either aware or they have a larger appreciation on what's traditionally been available. So that one stands out. The SI members that are inactive, they either used to be part of Scrum Alliance, they'd let their membership lapse, whatever. You can see they've actually shifted more to micro-credentials. They don't see as much value in the Scrum Master, Product Owner, Developers, so they're only at 55% on certs, but the micro-credentials actually have surpassed it. They see those as 61% valuable. So more valuable than they see certs. So it's an interesting trend, an interesting change. We don't have a lot of history yet to see change over time, but we do have a point of reference to say, what are people looking at now? And this is what we see here.
Sherman, I have a question.
Please.
Could this be because people have already got the role-based certification that they think they need?
I like that. So I don't have any data on that. So let's take that as a hypothesis. And I like that because I think the hypothesis is there's a lot of saturation in the marketplace for certifications, right? Everybody's got a CSM. It doesn't mean you know how to be a Scrum Master. So what else? What else can you bring me? So if everybody's got a CSM, then you're not different than anybody else. So to make you stand out in the marketplace, the micro-credential can stand out. AI for Scrum Masters. Okay, you're a certified Scrum Master, and you have this micro-credential that's called AI for Scrum Masters. That can be valuable. I want to see how you're going to bring that to you and the team so they can bring AI into everything they do. Yeah, I like that, Ivan. We'll call it a hypothesis or a assumption, but I like that thought. That's really good. Someone else. What else do you see? What else are you thinking about here?
Yeah, I'm also curious too if like with micros you can get more of them quicker and cheaper too. So I wonder if these values change, you can have like 3 or 4 micro credentials versus like 1 or 2 core certifications.
Yeah, that's good. There's another hypothesis here, but a lot of times quantity really stands out, right? Again, if you have like 2 certifications, and you put those on your resume, your LinkedIn profile or something, it's like, oh, you got a CSM and you got a CSPO. Great. That's awesome. You have a CSM, you have a CSPO, and you have 6 micro-credentials, you look like you're very well-rounded. You have lots of knowledge, lots of learning, and you've made that individual investment that we brought up before to continually learn and say, what can I use and now apply now? So I think that stands out a lot too, Roy. I think that would really be important to kind of both the individual and the employer. And like I said, they're cheaper and quicker to get. I mean, if you wanted to, you can get, 4, 5, 6 micro-credentials in 1 week, and probably not even impact your current job. Now, you might impact your time with your family, but,
Yeah. And if I like a team member, I was going to choose like get some of these. I'd almost rather pick a couple of micro credentials that maybe aren't totally related to one actual certification. I feel like you can be more specific with your choosings as well.
Yeah. And we're going to do that as an activity here too. You're going to get a chance to kind of explore these with another person and kind of see what might be interesting to you. So I've got that kind of built into what we're going to do in a few minutes. It's great. Someone else?
For the decision maker, yeah.
Go ahead, Hutch.
Yeah, for the decision maker, it looks like, you know, they are looking at seeking some form of certification, whether it's for the you know, standard roles, so to speak, or micro credential. But again, part of what they are considering as far as criteria for hiring, certification seems to be an important part of that. So yeah.
Yeah, that does stand out. If you're a decision maker, and maybe one of you are a decision maker, if you're making a decision on who to hire or who to build your team with, people who have certifications and or micro credentials
Right.
are going to be extremely valuable to you versus people that don't. If people don't, you might even make it a minimum qualification. If you don't have either of these, they're probably just shredding your application. As a decision maker, I think that really stands out, Hutch.
Yeah.
People are hiring basically saying, you have to have this. You have to stand out in the marketplace. I only want to bring people that are going to make a difference, that actually want to thrive on learning and current trends. They're focused. They can help my team, which helps my customers.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was about to. Yeah, that's what I was about to bring out in terms of the decision makers for the whether it's certification or micro credential. It's not that much, but it shows a commitment to continuous learning, and that's what I'm sure that's what the prospective hires want to see. Are you willing to continue learning, as you said, because everything's changing. Everything is you don't step into the river at the same point twice. From Heraclitus.
Very cool. Marge, you had a thought there too?
Yeah, and then for for people that have gotten who have been, like, for example, Scrum Master for 5+ years, they have their CSP, Scrum Master, or they have their CSD, right? This is good because the next level would be to either be certified Scrum trainer, which is a lot, or your CTC CEC, and that's very big, so something like this in between fills the gap. It's very good.
Awesome.
And it's very practical too. Like now I realize I really need this OKR because I don't have that validated, so it's time to get it. When's the next class?
Absolutely. Yeah, I got one coming up. So
All right.
I actually really enjoy teaching that class. That's out of the micro credentials I've explored so far, that one stands out to me a little bit more than the others.
Yeah,
because there's nothing else like it.
Yeah,
right?
we need more like business agility classes, and that fits the bill,
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that would be a good one.
let's take a look. So what are the micro credentials? I should make this plural. What are the micro credentials? What are the micro credentials that are out there right now? That's what I want to take a look at. So currently Scrum Alliance has 12 of them. All right, so that's a lot. They originally started with the Agile OKRs, and that came out just last summer. So they've been adding these really fast. So if you've got 12 of these, because what's powerful about these are built by trainers or the community. It's not just, a bunch of people sitting over at Scrum Alliance and trying to make these courses. That would be too slow and constrained. So they're letting the community actually build them based on what's interesting in the marketplace. And that's why they've been going so fast. So here's the 12 that are out there today. Agile OKRs, objectives and key results, AI for product owners, intro to coaching. There's a lot of coaching ones here. Conflict management skills, Scrum Essentials, Agile in Sales, Becoming an Agile Coach, Agile Coaching Skills. I said there's 3 for coaching right now. So if you don't want to get what Marge brought up about a certified team coach or certified enterprise coach, Scrum Alliance has actually been shifting to giving coaching skills as opposed to coaching certification. So these are skill-based, which is really cool. So you can gain coaching skills without having to get that professional coaching certification, which is a long journey. It took me 4 years to become a certified team coach, as an example. So, and most everybody I went with, it took them at a minimum about 2 years. Some people longer than me, some people quicker than me, but it still took everybody a while to become a professional coach. AI for Scrum Masters, Agile Essentials, Agile for Marketing, and BDD, which stands for Behavior Driven Development, if you're not familiar with the term. So, which is pretty cool for Agile teams. Those are the 12 that are out there today. I'm going to just talk about two of them. These are two that I have already taught. I am currently authorized to teach. I have asked for and received approval for Agile OKRs, AI for product owners, Scrum Essentials, Agile Essentials, and AI for Scrum Masters. Those are the ones I've asked for and have been approved for. I'll probably ask for the coaching one soon. I know I can get approved for those really quick because I'm already a certified coach and a trainer. But those are the ones that I've started with so far. And I've taught the Agile OKRs and the Scrum Essentials. Those are the two I've actually taught publicly and have had students. So those are the ones I'm mostly familiar with. So I'm going to talk about those just for a quick moment. The Agile OKR, so what happens in there? Well, here's what you're going to learn. You're going to learn about goal setting. How do we set goals? That comes about. We'll learn at the history of OKRs. Where does it start with? We'll get into how to set objectives and strategy. In this course, we also get into strategic planning and alignment, getting your organizational aligned, which is really powerful here. So your teams aren't just busy, but they're busy with the strategy that the organization has found is the most valuable thing for you to do this quarter, this year, all right, whatever their strategy is. We also get into the OKR itself, the template, how to build it, how to write OKRs, the different scenarios, how to get 360 alignment. So it's not just something that comes top down. It's not something that comes bottom up, but it's something that is fully aligned everywhere across your organization. So that happens in the class. We bring OKRs and Agile and Scrum together. That's kind of why I really fell in love with this course, because OKRs are something that have been around for a while, but they were never really thought about, how do I do OKRs with agility? How do I bring it to an Agile organization? How do I bring it to somebody who's following the Scrum framework? So we'll look at OKRs with Scrum, and we'll look at what's really interesting here, anti-patterns, right? Basically bad Scrum, bad OKR, which happens all the time. So we'll look at that. There's some bonuses I bring in this course about how to do it with measuring your agility, because OKRs, you need to measure the results, which is the KR, the key result side of it. So using the Kadomi tools side to measure agility. And also from a coaching perspective, how do I bring a coach in my back pocket? The Agile Coach GPT. So those are some bonus things in that course. So Agile OKR is a pretty cool course. Get familiar with that one. The other one, this is really good if you don't want to have your team get that full formal certification as a certified Scrum Master, a certified Scrum Product Owner, or a certified Scrum Developer. If they have one of those three, this is a really cool microcredential to refresh their knowledge. Maybe they got their CSM 5 years ago and, the Scrum Guide has been revised since then, or, they haven't been using it right. They've just been using what their organization has, but they don't really know it from a Scrum, theory and practice perspective. So if they have a cert already, this is a great way to get refreshed. If they don't, this is a great way to make sure everybody talks the same language. So in this, we go to an introduction to Scrum and Agile. We look at empiricism, the Scrum values, the benefits, the history. The whole Scrum framework is introduced. The events, the artifacts, and commitments. There's 14, right, in the whole Scrum framework. So we go through all 14 of those, bring it. We talk about the Scrum team, the Scrum Master, Product Owner, developers, get to the qualities, characteristics in there. And also bring in the 5 events that make up your Scrum framework. And look at particularly product backlog refinement. So all of that happens in this course. Some bonus, there's actual coaching time built into the course too, so you can work on your particular problems. So when you walk out of this course, you just don't have Scrum Foundation, but you've actually started to say, how do I use this? And I have already started to apply it. So Scrum Essential is great as a refresher or to make sure everybody's talking the same language.